Live, 69-31 Texas win over Kansas State. Bijan Robinson coming out, party 232 total yards of offense. Plays by him. Jordan Whitson gets his first touchdown. He gets 3 rushing touchdowns. Roschon Johnson gets 3 rushing touchdowns, 608 yards of total offense. And what could be simply just a dominant game from the offensive side of the ball. How you feeling, brother?
Sorry about that, Jeremy. Yeah, I can hear you. You probably turned it over to me. Hey, can you say something real quick? Just make sure I got you on. Yeah. So what happened is I'm down one computer right now. So I tried to play our YouTube, then realized I had to listen, the volume was going to come up, and then I have the microphone connected to the volume on the computer. So we'll work that out. So I may have you go through some of the questions until I can get that up here on my right-hand screen here.
Yeah, no problem.
But yeah, like you said, we know the talent is on the 40 acres. You know what the talent is on the 40 acres. You're what 9 games into a season, 9 games into the season. Still have Kansas to play if they do play that game. And we seen what we thought we were going to see out of Bijan Robinson, who was a 5-star running back coming out of Tucson, Arizona. But at the same time, you can't discount what Roschon Johnson did. You're talking about 14 carries, 139 yards, 9.9 yards per carry, 6 touchdowns between both the running backs. And the most surprising number here is Sam Ehlinger ran 3 times for -6 yards. So he didn't have to run the ball. Really didn't feel like we passed the ball the entire game, and really until we felt like we didn't even have to.
No.
And I think because those running lanes were open and they weren't open every time, that's athletes making plays in space. Where especially off that, what I think it was an outside zone play where he looked like he had fallen over, but he kept his balance, and that's when he took it to the house, I think, for 70 yards. Those aren't your offensive line with talented guys like that don't always have to be perfect. And I think that's the biggest thing. But and I'm going to stay. Go ahead, Jeremy.
No, Sam's line was 20 for 27 for 274, 10 yards per reception and 2 passing touchdowns. So you had 9 total touchdowns, almost at the special teams touchdown at one point, which would have taken, of course, one of your rushing touchdowns away. Deshaun Jameson continued to show that he's an All-American return guy. But yeah, so 20 for 27 for 274, and it was easy. They had a great game plan, get the ball out of his hand quickly, because they didn't know what they had in the offensive line, who had lost Sam Cosmi, who had moved Kerstetter, who had brought pretty much a redshirt freshman, Jake Majors, to be the centerpiece, and got the good game plan. Like, you didn't see deep balls to Brennan Eagles, 50-50 balls down the field. Again, Sam's not proficient in throwing the deep ball. So wide waist downs, trying to go to Brennan Eagles on a 50-50 ball when you get the ball out of your hands. They can play makers like 7 make plays, 4 make plays, 5 make plays. And again, like you said, the rushing between 5 and 2, 33 carries for 334 yards for an average of 10 yards per carry, 7 touchdowns by those 2 guys, to include Jordan Winton's 1 carry for a touchdown. But yeah, the run game looked great, and that's crazy. It's almost addition by subtraction. We've talked about that. The depth chart never changed on this team from game 1 until folks started opting out and not deciding to play. Not saying that the guys out here are better than Sam Cosmi, who's projected to be a number 1 pick, but sometimes moving things around and shuffling things around, and not going with the status quo when it continues to get you beat or put you behind, maybe something you need to look at going forward. And again, it may cost this current coach, his job. But just my thoughts.
Yeah, I was kind of trying to read through the chats on the messages on the board here as we kind of talk about it. But, I beat up the defense, or I actually give props to the defense. So when they do bad, I'm going to beat them up. I mean, I think the defense, I wouldn't call it regressed. I don't think they regressed by any sort of imagination. It takes multiple games to regress. But do I think they went back to some bad habits that they'd had in previous games? Definitely. Do I think, BJ Foster and Caden Stearns, as much as people beat up Caden Stearns, and then obviously Juwan Mitchell, playing without Juwan Mitchell in the middle and having to bring in, obviously 41 and then 33 and then playing, 28 freshman, made a beautiful, played the ball really well, got that interception. But at the same time, when you're also they're going to have good plays like Caden Stearns did their freshman year, but then they're also going to make freshman mistakes. And I think you've seen a lot of freshman mistakes. You've seen a lot of missed tackles. Obviously, Deuce Vaughn is probably one of the hard people to tackle. Is stature 5'5". He's like a Darren Sproles, hard to get a hold of. You know what I'm saying?
Once
you put him in a box,
right?
Yeah, he's very slippery. He's hard. As soon as you put him in a box, he's hard to tackle. But go ahead,
and we didn't do a pregame show last night, but that was one of our keys to our pregame show. It's going to be tackling 22, and I put it out pretty early in the pregame chat that was what I was looking for from the defense was getting 22 down to the ground. And like Clint said, when you're 5'5", you can hide behind 6'5" and 6'6" real quick, and then once you see him, he's almost gone. And he had that jump cut. He has a great jump cut. Beat two dudes, kind of jumped in the end zone on one of the touchdowns that he scored. But again. Yeah, the defense, again, a big loss was 6. Like I said, throughout the year, this linebacking core, 46 has a strength of being able to rush the passer. 0 has a strength of being able to cover, and 6 is your run stuffer. Once he got kicked out of the game for targeting, which I thought he did more damage to Moro Ojomo than he did to the quarterback for Kansas State. So I was I seen him hit the quarterback with his shoulder, more or less hit Ojomo, crown to crown. But yeah, I understand the intent of the rule. Don't really like it most times, but I understand why he was kicked out of the football game. But that's a loss. Same thing happened with TCU. The moment that he came out of the game, Max Duggan from TCU started to exploit in the middle of the field because, again, 6 is a run gap guy, a run stuffer, the probably the best tackler in run game out of that linebacker. No doubt the best run stuffing linebacker we have on this roster. And so it's a loss, like you said. And you didn't go from 1 to 2. You went from 1 to 3 at free safety. And like you said, the kid made a fantastic play on the ball. They could say it got thrown to him, but guess what? He was in the right place and he caught it. Had a second opportunity to squeeze the ball and didn't. Yeah, like you said, we've been praising them. And like I said, I don't think they've regressed. I just think circumstances when you're scoring 69 points and the drives are 1 to 2 minutes, then you get tired. And as much as we like to sub on defense. I think defense got tired at some points during the game, and that's why they gave up 31 points.
Yep, I agree with you. Do I think Texas is a 69 point per game team? Absolutely not. And it's not so much the points per game for me. Yeah, 69 points could have scored 90 on this poor Kansas State team. I think the entire team opted out on the defensive side of the ball probably within the third quarter. I was kind of worried about their defensive line. Because I kind of went back and looked at it because I was questioning about, this is, their defensive line is not good. Their defensive line is not horrible either. They've given up I think 158 yards per game. And if you look at offenses these days, that's not like beyond terrible. It's probably going to put you somewhere in the middle of the pack in football.
I really think the strength of their D line was their runs. 56 is a pass rusher. 56 is their version of 46 for us. And so letting him come upfield and the other defensive end come upfield, again, I think 2 and 5 or 5 and 2, let me reverse the order, have probably been your best backs all year. And not to say anything about 26. He's a great football player. I'm glad he's on this team. But sitting this kid who, again, at one point in time in the game had a 20 yards per carry average, just for the sake because he was a freshman and he needed a learning curve. I'm not so sure that's true, Coach Herman, that he really had a learning curve or a deficiency in the first 7 games that he all of a sudden understood in the last couple of weeks. And I thought he could go for 300 rushing yards if we continue to feed him like we did in the first quarter. And again, he sat on 6 rushes for a long, long time. And Johnny Munoz said it best that and when 2, the only reason why you didn't see it is because when 2 came in the football game, he ran hard and he was effective too. But you'd have had a lot of sore Texas fans again if you pull 5 off the field and 2 wasn't able to produce the way he did, because you had a hot running back who, like I said, at one point was going for 20 yards a carry, which is unheard of. So I don't understand it.
That's like his high school stats in Tucson.
Yes. I almost tweeted out South Point at one point, but I didn't want to be disrespectful to Kansas State. But it probably felt like South Point in Tucson, Arizona, where he's from, a high school football game.
But
I think he could have got 6 or 7 touchdowns on 20 carries and been north of 300 yards.
And I'm watching it here, and it brings up a point here. With Bijan, as talented as he is, and he's an athletic freak. Well, that's why he was number 1 running back coming out of the nation, according to multiple recruiting sites. Your offensive line doesn't have to be perfect.
Oh,
you almost got to be 70%, 75% right. He's going to make that other guy miss with a quick head twitch or foot in the ground, just subtle move. He's going to make somebody miss. They don't have to be perfect. So that Tom Herman, well, we got to get him into the only concern I would have, with Bijan Robinson, obviously playing, running back so early during the season would probably just be really pass blocking. But from a run, if I'm handing it off to you, then there's no reason that you shouldn't be seeing it. And everybody else sees it too. Other fans across the nation see it. Joe Klatt sees it. They're wondering why this guy's only had. I'm explaining it to a friend of mine. That before we started this podcast, that he'd only had probably less than 30 carries the rest of the season outside of this one. So
and you don't rely on him for pass coverage if you don't have Sam doing 5 and 7 step drops and deep balls. You don't have to rely on him. If Sam's taking a step drop or a 3-step drop and getting the ball out of his hands like he did today, then 5's not made to do that as much. But when you're 5-step drop, deep ball to Brennan Eagles, because again, like I like those plays in certain circumstances when you're trying to use the length and the width of the field. But to do it on every possession at some point is not necessary. And today they found their short passing game, and he was very efficient, 20 for 27 for 278, 2 passing touchdowns. And like you said, he only had to run the football 3 times. He let his backs be backs. He let his receivers be receivers, get them the ball in open space, let 4 make plays, let 7 make plays, let 6 make plays. 19 made a play across the middle. A little concerned about 18. 18 didn't look good going across the field. I think he may have some kind of, shoulder injury probably. That may sideline him probably against Kansas, and hopefully he's back for a bowl game. But yeah, let your weapons be weapons. We've been saying that all year. Like, get the ball out into these guys' hands and let them make plays.
Try to get this other computer up running here. As we do that, I'm kind of just going through here.
You want me to start on the comments?
Yeah, you can start. Yes, you can start the comments.
Do you got anything else you want to really talk on in the game, though?
No, I think the hardest thing for me to do. I think that's just the hardest thing for me. And if you've seen the tweet, if anybody's on Twitter and y'all seen the tweet I pushed out, I think the hardest thing for me, and probably 99.9% of the fans, other than the ones that obviously came back and don't understand what I'm talking about, is what is felt like the waste of talent. Do I think these guys are 69 points per game? Absolutely not. Do I think they could get up in the 30s and 40s and score with the best team, some of the best offenses in the nation? Absolutely. But I feel like it shouldn't have gotten to this point. And again, Kansas State is down down players, not a lot to play for. But you can't control that. All you can control is how your team comes out and play. And to see, what was it? Whittington score on a reverse. First touchdown of his career, which is crazy to me. First touchdown of his career. Jake Smith getting open, hitting Brennan Eagles in stride. Sam Ehlinger not having to run out of the pocket. Bijan, Roschon. Those are your guys those are your guys moving forward. They really are. I think it felt like you've wasted 8 games before this one and some into last season with these guys that you have. And I know injuries have bit us over the last couple of years, and that's another problem for me. But go ahead, Jeremy.
No, and the guys that do this for a living, right, on 104.9 have talked about this. Identity, right? Texas doesn't have an identity. Their game plan changes game to game. And again, it comes from a lack of trust. Like, I think they look at the defensive side of the football when you're talking offense and let the defensive guys dictate what the hell they're going to do on Saturday. If you were looking for Texas identity going forward, whether it be under this head coach or another head coach. This is the game plan I think this football team executes best at. The only issue is, as we ran it today, was we're scoring too damn quick. And if that's a problem, it's really not a problem. Because, like I said, the defense is on the field for more plays and faster than probably what you'd like them to be. But if you score 69 points, I don't see any teams in the Big 12 and not very many teams in the nation be able to score 70 on a Texas defense. So, yeah, I think identity going forward, this is what needed to be the game plan all year long. But when you coach conservatively and you let the defense dictate to the offense what it's going to do instead of the vice versa, the offense should be dictating to the defense what it needs to do. This is what you wind up with. And like you said, it was almost like 7 games too late. And again, I think I don't want to say wasted talent, but I think you finally allowed your weapons to be weapons today. And again, you got Iowa State scored 45, beat this team 45-0. So I'm not going to take a whole lot of, I don't disrespect teams or players or 85 scholarship guys, but it is what it is. You went out there, you scored 69 points, you let your players be players. They made plays. You won by, what would be, 69, 31, 38 points. In a game you should have. And that's what's so frustrating. I was talking to Clint during the game or at halftime, and that's what's so frustrating about the Iowa State loss is you had everything in front of you. Like you knew if you just beat Iowa State at home, these 2 games were going to be like today. But yet you decided that you were going to take the football game out of your guys' hands and put it on yourself, make bad decisions, put your defense in a compromised position, and cost your team a Big 12 championship appearance. I don't see it any other way. And people are like, why are you choosing today to beat up on the coach? Because it's the truth, man. Like you knew you were going to go into Kansas State and beat Kansas State. You knew you were better than Kansas. You just had to win home games against TCU and Iowa State, and you'd have been a hell of a lot better place than you are right now. And that's the frustrating part.
I'm looking at Bijan talking to, I think I may be talking to Ricky Williams. I'm not sure, in an interview. Humble kid, man. Gus and Joe Klatt, man, talking about the bigger picture situation, man, on the 40 acres. And I know Joe Klatt, what he say that on the herd this week, he wasn't going to listen or really talk to Urban Meyer because he was doing this game this week. And then obviously back in the studio, a lot of silence from him, not talking a lot. And I think you say it best, Jeremy, is if he was going to give any indication of not being interested about coming here, he would have probably already come out and said it at some particular point, instead of just giving the situation a cold shoulder on live television each and every weekend.
Right.
Yes.
He knows what we're talking about. He knows that he's an option at Texas. He knows he's the number 1 option in Texas. For him not to discount it or say, hey, I'm not interested, I think is good for us. Like, I don't put the cart before the horse. Again, I think it's a 50-50 decision. He could say yes, he could say no. But I think he laid out his job description today on live TV and understand that he's probably the only guy that can fulfill that job description. And maybe the guy that he's said on that same show was his coach of the year. We put out a tweet that the number 1 coach on our list said the number 2 coach on our list was the head coach of the year for college football, according to him. So he laid out his job description on the Big Noon Kickoff show. He understands what it is to coach at Florida, Ohio State, and he said that after he made those comments. And didn't shy away from thinking that or saying that it couldn't be done. So that's kind of where we're at.
If you wouldn't mind hitting that like button, I'm not sure. I can't really tell how many people are on at this particular time, but I know the likes aren't. I think it's like less than 20 likes. I think we may have somewhere around about 78 people watching right now. So if you haven't hit that like button, please hit that like button. We really would appreciate it. Now the story really turns into, is Kansas going to be played? And what happens tomorrow going forward? Because the smoke seemed like it was tomorrow a decision was going to be made at some particular point. And I don't know. I was asking Jeremy. There were people on there saying, "Well, CDC is went to the Kansas State game, and I don't know if CDC doesn't show up for games on the road, and what would be the reason for Chris Del Conte showing up for this game." So I think right now as a program, go ahead, Jeremy.
No, especially like we talked about pregame. We didn't know that CDC didn't travel to every road football game, but you're hosting. You got a top-ranked basketball team tomorrow hosting another top-ranked basketball team in Austin with Texas hosting Villanova tomorrow. So, yeah, you would think that of all weekends that he didn't travel, he would be hosting, the Villanova athletic director and be around his basketball team. But, yeah, I didn't realize, number one, that he didn't travel to every road game. And number two, when Clint let me know that wasn't a thing and that he was traveling to this one in particular, then, yeah, I kind of felt like there could be something to it. Like we really felt like this result was coming. 38 points, probably not, but a blowout victory against Kansas State was happening. But I don't think it changes the macro look at this university and this football program. Micro, yeah, it's a great win. It was Bijan Robinson's coming out party. Jordan Whittington scored a touchdown. You got to see freshmen play on defense. But the macro look, I don't think changes with this result. I don't. Your thoughts?
No, it's definitely not going to change, man. When we put out a poll, we know how polls have been and pollsters working and all this other stuff, but you put out polls and you kind of see where we're at. And we went from like 50-50 a couple of weeks ago to I think like 70-30 to 10, down to 90-10 at this particular point. There are folks that are fans that still want Herman to stick around. That is their opinion about this. And I'm never not going to shoot their opinion down, but I'm also going to give my opinion to them if they want my opinion, if they ask for it, But this particular point, 3 weeks, the situation really since probably Oklahoma, TCU, Texas Tech was kind of the buildup of it and having to kick beat them in overtime, with an onside kick. It's kind of got itself to where it is. And again, I was telling someone today, it's not the losses that get me. It's the attitude and the nonchalant lack of responsibility that bothers me the most with Tom Herman. The losses hurt, and you want to go out there and you go. Should your team go out there and go undefeated every year? I can tell you, Alabama takes bad losses once a year, once every couple of years. Ohio State will take a bad loss like a Purdue. Clemson will take a bad loss like Syracuse. So teams take bad losses if they don't show up each and every week or the ball bounces the wrong way. It's just the multiple losses to the unranked teams over and over and over again. The 1-3s versus Oklahoma, the can't consistently beat TCU. The only thing good that Tom Herman's got going for him right now is that I think he's probably the only coach that's figured out how to beat Kansas State. I think that's the only thing,
But again, I don't think this was a full squad of Kansas State. Again,
I don't either.
Linemen to COVID. They lost their starting quarterback. Like, we're not going to make other excuses for other teams, like we don't make excuses for Texas. But at the same time, if this is the skin on the wall that and I know you're not saying that, but if this, you kind of put it out with that tweet that you wrote. Mm-hmm. Like if this is your skin on the wall for the year, it's not such a skin. You know what I mean? Like, it's almost like UTEP, man. Like, again, that's why Iowa State makes me so mad, because Kansas and Kansas State were literally layups. You only had to win one football game of the remaining 3 after a bye, after 20 days off, and you got in your own way. It's crazy to me. But that's how close and good, and I won't say good. I'm trying to help myself with words here. But I think disciplined coaches have disciplined players and they make disciplined decisions. And in this, undisciplined players and undisciplined coaching decisions cost this team a chance to win the Big 12.
Urban Meyer.
And I don't know. And everybody says if not Urban, then Herman. And I'm like, I don't think Brian Kelly blows the game against Iowa State knowing what he has left on the schedule. I don't think there's Dan Mullen blows Iowa State knowing what's on the schedule. Understanding time and place, understanding time and distance.
And again, I think that's going to be a problem. If you don't get your number one and you have to go down the line to someone else, how does Longhorn Nation react to it? And the problem is that there's coaches out there
Ask them. There's not
that have more skins on the wall than Tom Herman does. Because when you brought Tom Herman in, he had 2 years head coaching experience at the University of Houston. People were talking about, Franklin, right? Franklin had a bad season this year. Previous years, he's had really good seasons. We got to a point where we kind of wrote him off too, right? But if you go back and look at Brian Kelly's 2016 or 2017 year, he went 4-6, but followed it up by 2, 10-win season and have an opportunity to. Urban Meyer said he's his coach of the year this year on Fox.
Yeah.
So I think there's coaches out there. You can't get Urban Meyer. What I'm saying, if you can't get Urban Meyer, there's other coaches out there that could come into the University of Texas and do a better job managing talent, because he is a good recruiter. He's been a good recruiter. You don't bring in top 5. You don't bring in top 5 recruiting. Years without being a good recruiter. The problem is he has a problem managing talent, getting out of his own way, and being hard-headed to a point where he'd rather play. Go ahead, Drew.
I got a comment that I was going to, and I just let these guys get after it. But a guy came into our in-game chat, and he said, "Hey," basically we were talking about coaches then, and somebody said, "Well, Dan Mullen got Florida." Like they were saying that Florida and Alabama took years to create. Ohio State took years to come back. And Cody Phillips, our guy, said, "Hey, it took Dan Mullen 2 years to go from Mississippi State to Florida to get them to a 10-win season." And I want to come back and say, yes, Tom Herman did the same thing for Texas. In year 2 of Tom Herman's tenure, Texas was 10-4 and beat Georgia in the Sugar Bowl. The problem is he didn't grow from that. And this is a "what have you done for me lately" business. And when and again, I don't know. It's we've always said it's results driven, but it's not only the results and costing you football games, it's the recruiting landscape. Like you said, I don't see it getting better because the great players that are already on this campus aren't coming in the future. Those number 1 or top 10, top 5 recruiting classes that we had in the past that are currently on this roster that we're going 7-3 with aren't coming in 2020, 2021 at this point. They're not. In 2022, they're not even looking at our program. And so you probably got your best roster currently on the football field. And what did you do with them? You're going to go 7-3, maybe 8-3 with the bowl win. And that's not good enough when you lose to TCU, Iowa State at home, and Oklahoma on a neutral site when they have a freshman quarterback and you have a senior. That's the problem. The macro problem is it's not going to get better because your talent's not going to get better. Because supposedly you have the number 5 blue chip ratio currently on your campus. Mm-hmm. And you went 7-3.
And add to that, that's what again, if you don't get Urban Meyer, bring back Tom Herman. Tom Herman is going to set you back multiple years in recruiting because he keeps selling the same bill of goods that don't work. Tom Herman sticks around this year. You might as well. Your 2021 class is going to stay the same. That 2022 class is not going to come because they've already seen what your product on the field is. And if you're not consistently winning, that doesn't mean, okay, I won, in a year of COVID, I went 6-3, right? 6-4 or 7-3, right? And turn around and you won 9 games next year. Those kids still aren't going to come to your program because you have not consistently won year after year after year after year. So if you want Tom Herman to come back here right now, you better realize that you're not going to get a top 10 recruiting class until at a minimum 2023. And that's if you win 9, 10, 11 games next year and go to a college football playoff or go to another New Year's Six Bowl. And that's just truth. They're not coming back. Go ahead, Jeremy.
And again, I'm happy for the kids, man. 69 points, Bijan getting 3 touchdowns, Roschon getting 3 touchdowns, Whittington getting the end zone first time, Jaron Thompson getting his first pick. Awesome. Micro. fantastic for these kids. Happy for them. Happy for a 69-31 win on the road at Kansas State. But you don't think the kids in the 2021 class and 2022 class, the folks that advise them, their high school coaches, their parents, advisors, the guys they work with on the weekends don't understand that Kansas State is without their starting quarterback, without their starting two of their linemen, and understand the strengths of their team and could say, hey, yeah, Texas scored 69 points against Kansas State, but that's a shallow 69 points. Again, if that's your skin on the wall, again, Oklahoma State on the road was an excellent win. You should have followed that up by beating Iowa State, because these last two games you knew you had a 99.9% chance of winning. And that's why failing in that football game, and not the players failing, but coaching decision fails, cost you your season.
I didn't catch that last part, Jeremy. You kind of cut out there, but I'm kind of reading this. I'm just kind of reading. I got messages on my phone here. I'm just kind of just going through them here. Again, they're talking about if Urban Meyer is done, what assistants does he fire? I can tell you, if you go back and listen to Urban Meyer and the way that he tries to put programs together, he doesn't come into a program and try to implode them through and through altogether. He has his core guys that he has to have around him that he wants to bring to this program. That number one person, his number two guy, is not even an assistant coach that's on the field during the game. His number two guy is the strength and conditioning guy during the offseason. That's not his guys that are on the field are way down the chart from where that number two guy is. It's Urban Meyer, and then it's a strength and conditioning coach, Malati, I think is his last name. Mm-hmm. Been around for like 30 years. I think they were GAs together at Notre Dame, if I'm not mistaken, and they kind of went their own ways. And then he brought him back, I think, when he went to, I believe, Florida, and then it brought him, or I think Florida, and then from Florida, he brought him to Ohio State, and they've been together for a long, long time. That is his guy. If he doesn't get that guy, I'm gonna tell you that if he can't get that guy to join him at the University of Texas, the chances of getting Urban Meyer are very, 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 very slim, very slim. Because those are the guys that are the starting the program together.
Right. Let me after that comment real quick, mm-hmm. because we got a sighting. We got a D-Man D sighting for the first time in months, and he said, "Hey, yeah, Jeremy, you hit the nail on the head essentially with the running backs doing their thing, but hey, give some love to Andre Carrick and Jake Majors." Again, a couple of guys who came in, filled roles. Again, and I was talking to Clint, like the versatility, and it sucks that Kerstetter got hurt, but his versatility allowed you to only make one change initially in the football game when you could have had to make two or three. So I love Derek Kerstetter for his versatility as much as I dogged him for some bonehead plays that he made earlier in the year, playing after the whistle and stuff. But his versatility allowed you to do minimally what you needed to do on the offensive line to prepare for this game with Sam Cosmi opting out, his injury. That we thought was going to inhibit him from playing, and ultimately he did get injured late in the game. Yeah, shout out to Andre Carrick, Jake Majors, and those guys for having a hell of a football game.
And a shout out to D-Man, because we haven't seen you in a while either, D-Man.
No.
Appreciate you, man. I catch him every once in a while. I think he's on 247 Sports. I catch him all the time, but we don't really comment too much on 247 Sports.
They won't let us.
But Jeremy says they won't let us comment on there. But back to this assistant thing. I think he retains the defensive side of the ball. Again, Chris Ash, he thinks the world of Chris Ash. I think Chris Ash, I think today was not a regression. I think it was more of a one. You got a freshman out there playing. You're missing two. You got your third safety out there, the freshman that made wonderful plays. I think Chris Ash and whatever staff that I think he trusts him. I think Urban Meyer will trust Chris Ash. I think whatever staff he wants to keep on that side of the ball, he'll let him keep on the side of the ball. I think right now the quick question is on the offensive side of the ball, to me, if I'm Urban Meyer, I would almost keep everyone minus probably offensive line. And I'm not sure yet about the wide receiver coaching yet. I'm not, but I think that. Go ahead.
Johnny said Tom Herman, Yancey, and Herb. And it seems like you're on the fence with Andre Coleman, but
yeah. And the reason I say is because you're
Coleman another year, man.
I think the biggest thing is that I think Urban Meyer, he's an offensive guy. He's an offensive guy, quarterbacks, wide receivers guy. Mm-hmm. And I think that him keeping Yurcich run almost the identical kind of. I wouldn't say identical to the power spread that Urban Meyer, because it's the same thing. It's pretty much what Herman runs, but I think him keeping Yurcich allows to keep this team together the best it can, and you kind of just fill in the spaces where you need to fill them in at. But who knows? But that number one guy.
Did you say that Meyer's offense was the pro spread?
Pretty close, yeah.
Yeah. But what I was going to say is Rod B talked about this the other day, Rod Babers. And when Zeke was his dude, how they rode Zeke, and how Urban, like Mac, like we talked about the last live show we did, how the offense was different from Major Applewhite to Chris Sims to Vince Young to Chance Mott to Colt McCoy. They all ran different offenses under Greg Davis because Mac was a coach that would see what his talent level was, and yeah, that power spread with that dude number 5 running the football could be phenomenal. If like I said, the short passing game, 5 getting the ball 20 to 25 times with 2 spelling him. Again, they like to say the cake is baked on 104.9. That was Charlie Strong's, exit interview or exit press conference. He said, "Hey, I feel like I could have done a lot more if I'd had a couple more years with this team. I feel like the cake is baked." The cupboard is not bare, man. The cupboard is not bare for if there is a coaching change for the next guy. And I think you saw that today. There's young talent. And again, that's why you get so frustrated when they roll the same depth chart out there week after week after week. Players continue to make mistakes over and over again, and there's no change. Again, he said this pregame that competition breeds championships. And I don't know that competition was ever a thing if you keep rolling out the same depth chart week after week after week and don't think that you have a chance to play. And that's what leads kids ultimately, and it's not just a Texas problem, it's probably a systemic problem across college football, is if I'm not getting playing time, I'm going to enter the transfer portal and go find myself somewhere else to go.
Omega's asking, what is Brandon Harris's role on the team? He's the assistant to Stan Drayton. He's assistant running back coach. Assistant running back coach to Stan Drayton. Somebody said we need to bring bring Samples back. Or Rashad Samples. I see Reginald Samples. That's his daddy up there in Duncanville. But I need to bring Rashad Samples back. Not a bad idea, because he can recruit. He's good at recruiting. They own that Dallas area, man. They really do.
Yeah, it kind of came out in the chat today talking about recruiting DFW, the inability to recruit DFW, and I talked about Sanders did not count as the Dallas-Fort Worth area. Ish Ibrahim, J.D. Coffey. Just off the top of my head, Byron Murphy from DeSoto. Again, you're only going to get 20, 25 kids a year. And I thought that Quinn Ewers commitment was going to kind of run that Dallas to Austin train, and it kind of did with the commitment of Faison Wilson and what we had heard. The guys that were working out with him off-site, were all Dallas kids. I think a guy like Urban Meyer fixes that, man. Like I don't think we need Samples as much as we need a head coach that has 3 championship rings on his fingers. I don't think that's a hard sell. But yeah, I mean, and I'm pretty sure that Ohio State Ryan Day's connection to the Dallas-Fort Worth area that allowed him to get the Jackson Smith from the receiver out of Rockwall are still there. I think. I'm pretty sure Urban Meyer has some connections in the Dallas-Fort Worth area as far as high school football coaches that he can reach out to. And again, he's a 3-time national champion.
I think that's the biggest thing. It's not really at that particular point because, what Texas ties do you have? To me, respect of what you've done at the college level outweighs what your Texas connections are with these coaches. Because coaches are only going to have so much influence on where these players go.
Yeah.
Play for a national you could stay here and play for a national championship coach. There's only one of those currently right now in the state of Texas. That school out east. Yeah. He's got one that can say they've won a national championship. There's only one of those. Tom Herman can say, I won a national championship as offensive coordinator at Ohio State, but
it was
respect.
It was part of Urban's job description.
It was.
It was part of his job description. I need to get players in the first or second round of the NFL draft. That is your job. He listed it along with number 1 recruiting classes, graduating everybody, going undefeated. Like, I really wish, I don't remember who put that out, but the job description that he pretty much lined out for this kind of a job. He was talking about this job and University of Michigan pregame. You guys probably saw it. But what's necessary in order to win fan bases like us over? And again, me and Clint have said we haven't won anything in 10 years. Why do we feel so entitled? Because this program deserves it. You can't be the number one revenue generating program in the country and not have wins that go with that. Just doesn't make sense to me.
John Munoz say Clinton Jeremy number one recruits on YouTube right now. Laugh out loud. Okay. Currently live, Johnny Munoz on here with us.
5 stars. We're 5 stars.
Yeah. Oh, we're 5 stars. Hey, I'm good with it.
I don't know if that's true.
I don't know
a
either.
3-star that's trying to get better. You know what I mean?
Trying to get better each and every week. Absolutely, man.
That's it.
Just trying to read these things off of here. Hypothetical.
Yeah.
And it for y'all that say Urban Meyer is a go that's on this live right now, that you know 100% for sure, and you got a good source. DM us. Send us a signed contract, or just DM us with that information. DM just send us a direct message with that information with your source. Because
anybody. Instagram.
Yep. You can send it to any one of us.
Twitter.
Because I can tell you we're still going to talk about other coaches because people are like, it's done. It's a done deal. It's a done deal. It's a done deal. I don't know why y'all keep bringing up other coaches, because we don't know it's a done deal. Because the night before there was an Ohio State guy that's on I guess that has a site over in Ohio State that was like, that's a close friend of Urban Meyer's that said he's not coming. And then Rap Game Larry's like trying to, hey, bet me for $500. And you have all these bets going. And then last night there was another individual that's actually pretty close to me. And by the way, I'm going to reach out to him I actually sent him a direct message. And if he writes me back, I might have a beer with him and see what his insight is into the program. But that texted last night that it's a done deal. But it's hard to believe that because you've heard so many narratives. You've heard so many things. The smoke is building this way. It's going this way. It's going this way. That, hey, if you don't get Tom Herman, then they already started talking to Franklin. Oh, and then, by the way, oh, my God, you're going to be surprised that if they don't get Tom Herman, oh, my God, you're going to be surprised by the second person they started talking to. Now, who is that? You know what I'm saying? And I don't know. I told Jeremy this morning, I don't know if what they do is Texas media may send out a note to all the sites that have media access to the program and say, hey, you know what, until we do this, hold off on giving your takes or whatever the case may be. I don't know how they do it. We're not that far into the game to know those things, but hey, I'm going to check my Twitter here in a minute. So if you're one of these people on here that say it's a done deal, send me a direct message with the source. And then me and Jeremy will know it's a done deal as well.
Even better, I like the guys who come in here and tell us that it's a pipe dream, and like Octavian saying, don't really get the Urban Meyer talk. They aren't firing Herman, especially if he wins out. Second, anyone who follows Meyer knows he's not taking the job. And then just McCabe and Minute Maid come in. They're like, dude, you have no idea what he's going to do. And McCabe comes back with Octavian, respectfully, you're delusional if you think beating these 2 Kansas teams matters. Yeah. Him beating Kansas State and Kansas is not retainability for me.
It's so far down at this particular point. Again, there's fans, there's boosters, there's admin, there's so many people involved to get the point. Tom Herman could not pull himself out of a box that didn't have any sides at this current point. He could not get himself out of a box that didn't have any sides at this point. There's no way that they're going to retain Tom Herman. With all of the negative stuff that is going on at this particular point, and it really started not with the games. Yeah, the games are terrible. But when you start losing commit after commit after commit because they don't believe in your program anymore, that's when it is, because that is the pillars of your program. If you don't have recruits, you don't have a program.
And I think Todd P., and I don't know if we've ever seen Todd P., but I think he just said it best. When the fan base has already fired Tom Herman. if you don't have the support of the fans, and I know we talked about season ticket holders and this and that, and where you fit on the fandom level and fandom pyramid, but if you've lost your fan base, man, I don't see how CDC can keep them around. I just don't, because these are the guys that buy tickets and buy concessions and buy gear. Like, come on now. Like, if the guys who watch this channel and the guys who follow us on Twitter are a microcosm of the Texas fan base, which, like you said, went 50-50 after TCU, who went 70-30 after OU, who went 90-10 after Iowa State, to fire Tom Herman, I don't see how you as the athletic director of the administration could keep him around. Because, again, I don't know how many folks watch this Kansas State team or Kansas State game and are going to go back from 90-10 to back towards that 70-30. But if they do, they're uneducated football fans because they don't understand what Kansas State is.
Got Dorian Johnson in the house right now. He said, big dog in the building. Sean John is what they call him. Sean John, two-headed monster, running back duo. Probably could be next year, man. Best duo in the nation. If they're used right.
3 rushing touchdowns. Each of them over 9 yards per carry. I'll give it real quick. Bijan Robinson, 9 carries, 172 yards, 19.1 average, 3 touchdowns. Roschon Johnson, 14 carries for 139 yards, 10 rushing yards per carry, 3 rushing touchdowns.
You win ball games with running backs like that, man. With rushing
games and short passing games.
You win games like that. I'm just getting frustrated again. I want to do the vomit emoji. Like that vomit emoji just wants to come out. It honestly just wants to come out because it's like, why? And I know Roschon was injured a little bit this year. Bijan being a freshman. Keontae dealing with injuries and stuff, but there's no reason that you shouldn't have been handing the ball to these guys when they were healthy. Instead of trying to go deep over the top. And I know, again, your offensive line is probably just average or maybe probably average. I'm not even going to say above average, an average offensive line. But again, with these guys, with how big they are and as how talented they are and the athletes they are, you do not have to have a line that's going to have to make 100%, be 100% every time.
Yeah, they don't have to.
They're going to make somebody miss a space, or they're going to run somebody over, and they're going to continually go forward and go forward and go forward.
Why did it take you? And Dorian can chime in, please, sir, because you have your college football player, NFL football player, the brother of the running back that currently is on this team. Why did it take you 8 weeks to find this identity? Like, these guys showed today that they're like to no surprise on our part, because we've asked why the depth chart remained the same week after week when you're losing to teams like TCU, Iowa State, Oklahoma, the teams you should have beat.
Damn it, Jeremy, when we started this thing back.
I think they have an identity, though. I think they have an identity. And you saw it today, whether it's for this head coach that's currently has this roster of players or for a new guy. I think you saw the identity on offense for this team going forward. Because, again, like you said, you don't have to pancake people on the ground. You don't have to hold your blocks for 3 or 4 seconds, because these guys are going to, like you said, they're either going to make a miss with a subtle move, or they're going to run their ass over in the second level and get the ball down the field where they need to go.
Dorian Johnson said, bro, the only ones that know that are the coaches. We have no idea either. And I can tell you what, Dorian, man, your brother is one of, I can tell you, one of me and Jeremy's favorites up here, man. You're talking about someone that has been selfless in changing jobs. You know, he's brought in as a quarterback. And it's cool that we haven't seen quarterback in a long time and actually just called him running back, because that's what he is. He's probably one of the best running backs. The thing about it, these guys are good, man, and they have potential to get even better. It's just got to happen. It's just so frustrating that when we started this podcast back in June, we talked this team up going by position, by position, by position, by position, telling the truth. You know what I'm saying? If it was a weakness, it was a weakness. If they had inefficiencies, they had inefficiencies. If they, if they were average, like the linebacker group, and we called it what it was. But it's just it gets to a point where we're sitting here the first week of December, the first Saturday in December, I think first Saturday, right? In December, and discussed it in part how we didn't use the offensive playmakers the way we should have. And I'm almost just speechless. I'm almost speechless. Like, how do you get to a point? How do you get to a point where in your last game, potentially as a head coach, you go out there and score 69 points? It's hard to score 69 points in any game. Hell, it's going to be hard to score 69 points against Kansas next week.
No, it's
because you have to have turn. You got to have turnover. You have to have turn. You got to have a lot of possessions. You have to have a lot of possessions to score 69 points. You had interception. You had a fumble near the goal line. You had a kick return that ended up at the 1 yard line, right? That's 3 possessions you didn't have.
How many first downs do you think Kansas is going to get on Texas defense?
Less than 10.
They're going to get the ball
7, 8
times.
They are, but I'm just saying 60.
I'm putting on your thoughts. I'm not at all. I'm not. But that's why, again, Iowa State makes me so mad, because we knew what the results were going to be for Kansas State and Kansas. Again, Iowa State had beaten Kansas State 45-0 in their place. We knew we were going to blow out Kansas. You had to find a way to beat Iowa State at home after 20 days of rest, 1 extra day of preparation, and your coach, with his decisions, took it out of the kids' hands. He didn't trust the kids to make plays, so you call a fake punt in your own territory. You take points off the field, off the board when you're up late in a football game to give to turn a 4-point lead into a 7-point lead. It's just so frustrating. And I get on Lando, and I got on Lando during the chat about four plays from being undefeated. Yes, we understand that. We understand that a fumble against TCU, that not going for 2 when you possibly had OU's defense tired in the Red River Showdown, and then the fake punt, and then the missed field goal, or taking the field, because I don't even count the missed field goal. It's 58 yards. Like, that's not a kidney. We get it. It's 4 plays, man, but you should have never been in that position in any of those football games. You shouldn't have been down 15 to OU against a freshman quarterback. You should have never been down to TCU because they're a bad football team, and you should have beat Iowa State at home. Yeah, they're number 9 in the country, but you should have won that football game. You were ahead in that football game, and you cost yourself that football game. They didn't take it from you. You gave it to them. And it wasn't the players. It was the coach.
Yeah, I was going to say that those four plays are mismanagement of game, mismanagement of the game. You're hired and you're paid $5.75 million, $6 million a year to make those decisions, which they should be 100% of the time good decisions. It's $6 million a game. It's $6 million a year.
Players. Trust your players.
Yep.
Trust your players.
Yeah, there's a lot of guys that are actually going to, let's get on a positive note here. Jonathan Brooks, my goodness gracious. Ja'Tavion Sanders palmed that football last night in that game. Goodness gracious. Tight end, defensive end, Jeremy. Tight end, defensive end, Ja'Tavion Sanders.
You know I'm on record. It depends, man. It depends on – again, I think we searched 8 games to find an offensive identity. And I don't want to spoil that kid's talent trying to figure out what he's good at. And I feel like the fail-safe at the beginning of the year was defensive end. And the more I watch him play, I'm starting to change my mind. I want him as a big slot. I do. But I have to go back and watch the film. Like when we did our, commitment corner with Ja'Tavion Sanders, and we talked about his film. That was his junior year film. I have not watched his senior film to be able to give you an honest assessment. But I think he's a win-win either place. I just don't know if we don't, like Johnny's about to say, or Johnny did say, we don't throw to our tight ends. If you're not going to utilize him as a weapon, on the offensive side of the football, then I think you have to put him in 46 slot. You have to put him in that rush defensive end that currently Joe Side is playing, and then that Jordan
Gene
Thomas
Ward. I don't know if we've seen him before. Gene Ward. I'm not sure if we've seen you before, man. Welcome to Texas Football Talk. Probably has one of the best quotes that I'm just going to steal and put in my pocket at this particular point. An occasional decommit happens. A trend of decommits means that the canary did not return from the coal mine. That's perfect.
It's systemic. That's what I'm saying. It's not a onesies and twosies thing. It's not a kid making a decision because he has a brother who plays for another school who has talked him into, or for I don't know, Billy Bowman, like I'd be talking like to say that he left Texas to go to OU for a girlfriend, but essentially his girlfriend plays softball at Oklahoma. But when you got guys who leave, who commit in August, decommit in October, and recommit to another school in November, it's something else. It's definitely something else.
So currently, right now, you have Coffee, Ishmael Ibrahim, Hayden, Jameer, Wright is another one that's committing
Yeah,
early,
right.
or that's early commit. That's also I think early arrival. The signing, I think they're signing. I'm not sure who out of the list is signing early. I know Charles Wright's going to be an early guy. Jameer Johnson, I'm not sure if he's an early guy or not. I think he was coming in early because he couldn't play his senior year of football. So I think he was graduating early and he's going to try to get here early. Jameer Johnson was out of California. But there's some guys that are going to be trying to hit the 40 acres here in January. I think best case scenario right now, they were saying who's going to be coaching Texas next week. Best case scenario, that it's either Stan Drayton or it's going to be Chris Ash that are going to be the interim coach if Texas plays against Kansas next week. And you name the successor real soon to allow some of these guys that may have thought about committing to other schools answer the phone one more time for the guys that you may or may not have coming in here. I think it's important at this particular point because, again, it's a respect thing. For me, it's not do I have to feel comfortable if just say it's Urban Meyer, do I have to feel comfortable with Urban Meyer as a person? If I know what Urban Meyer can do as a coach, I think it's just getting these guys on the phone and saying, hey, I'm here, man. I'd like to welcome you to the 40 acres. You want one of these scholarships?
Yeah, I'll see you. I'll see you real soon.
Yeah, and I think it's a respect thing.
Yeah.
It's exactly what's going to happen if he walks into one of those into that locker room. Heads are going to be on a swivel because it's a respect thing. You know, I told Jeremy Hill when listening to him and forgive me, and I appreciate y'all close y'all's ear real quick. I said, listen to this guy talk about what was he talking? Competitive spirits on Fox Noon today.
Yeah.
It's like listening to porn.
You got to compete for your spot every game, every day. And that's when somebody said, hey, these guys don't compete in practice. Well, that's a problem, dude. If the coach doesn't make them compete in practice, that the only time they're worried about competing for their job is during the game, that's a problem. Like, that doesn't make any sense to me. Clint got our Twitter blowing up, y'all. Hey, man, there's 114 guys. Yeah, there's 114 guys in here, man. There's 60 likes on the board. Please hit that scoreboard. Light that thing up. Make that thing match. Let's see 113 real soon, man. We love bringing you this program. We've been doing this thing for about, what would be almost a little shy of 6 months. So we're rookies in the game, freshmen, trying to figure this whole thing out. Working real hard for you guys. Trying, again, signing day tomorrow as well. Don't want to transition to basketball just yet because he's probably got some notes he's about to holler out. But Texas versus Villanova. I think I asked Clint last night. I said, hey, if we beat Villanova on Sunday, is this a top 5 basketball team? And then I watched 2 top 10 basketball teams find a way to lose last night. So I really feel like we can get in that top 5 here relatively quickly if we continue to beat teams like Villanova tomorrow. Really excited about seeing our basketball team at home. I think we played UT Rio Grande Valley at home. I was going to say that I think this is our first true home game, but it's not. We played Rio Grande Valley there, but excited to see the basketball game tomorrow noon. Villanova at home.
Girls play tomorrow too, right? Texas A&M.
I thought the girls played tonight. I could be wrong. I don't know.
I know they play Texas A&M. Is their next?
When we got off here, I was going to look for that because I know it's either tonight or tomorrow.
No, I don't have any other notes, man.
Both games are Sunday.
Both games are Sunday. Yeah, I thought they played tomorrow. I think they got Texas A&M, I think, tomorrow, which Texas A&M is, I think, is ranked. I want to say top 15, top 10 team, girls. Vic Schaefer had that team ready to play, though. Aggressive basketball team. He's an aggressive guy, man. Love it, dude. Love it. This, man, I'm telling you, I don't think there's too many more notes to go down rabbit hole with this. Defense looked kind of shaky today, giving up 31 points, a lot of missed tackles, people out of place. It looked like in the secondary. Guys got to go. Defense. Yeah. Defense put up 69 points. Probably could have put up 199 points. Had an opportunity to play Casey Thompson, man, the entire fourth quarter. I don't know if that was a sign just now, but I don't know if y'all watched the Tom Herman press conference, but the lights went out on him at one point. I don't know if they turned the lights out on him or what, but the lights went out on him. I don't know if that was a sign. But, hey, keep your head on a swivel. Keep your head on a swivel. Again, you got the people out here that say they know for sure, 100%. I just checked my DMs. I don't have anything there yet, Jeremy. We don't have anything.
Yeah,
send it to us.
Send us the signed contract, man.
Send it to us.
We want to do a show. We want to do a couple of shows this weekend. One's you know what, and the other's you know what. Hey, we have cut ties with this gentleman, and we have married to this guy for the next 3 to 5 years, and we'll see.
Yeah. So, all right. I think that's it, Jeremy. Anything you want to add before we get off here?
No, I just don't like revisionist history.
The what?
Like I don't care what the 7 years before Tom Herman looked like. I know, again, Clint says it, I say it. It's not about the record, man. It's about the lack of accountability and costing your players. Again, if you put your players in the best position to win and they let you down, then you continue coaching. But if you're the problem and you consistently don't take accountability for your mistakes, you're the problem. And again, Urban Meyer says it best. It's never a player problem. It's always a coaching problem. Because guess what? You're the man responsible for those kids, both on and off the field. And I agree with that, and I will take that to the bank. But yeah, no, man, I'm done. Appreciate you guys listening to us. We're going to if you didn't get a chance to join us at the beginning, we'll put the link out in all of our platforms, leaving here. If you haven't subscribed to our channel and new to the channel, please hit the like and subscribe button. Clint will give you the outro, tell you where we're at. But love doing this, man. You guys talked us into doing that chat. I really wish we'd have started listening to you from game one and allowed you to do that, because I learned a lot, from you guys talking back and forth, and every now and then me and Clint will put in a comment. But really love the in-game chats. Hope you guys do too. But we'll see you. Hopefully got some breaking news soon. Maybe we'll do a post-game basketball show tomorrow, a short one. I think they tip off at noon. Maybe a short basketball post-game and a girls pregame. But yeah, had a wonderful day today. 69-31 win over Kansas State on the road. Again, glad for these kids, glad for the coming out party for all these freshmen. Just nice to get back in the win column. But go ahead, Clint, give them the outro.
Yeah, absolutely, man. So there was a chain going around yesterday on Twitter that I think people that are that watch TF, that watch us, Texas Football Talk, listen to us, however you do it. I know that we were trying to get a little chain going yesterday on Twitter. So if you know another follower that's on here, ask them what their Twitter handle is and follow those guys. And we're trying to do the same thing. I know Cody Phillips was trying to push out Cody Phillips stuff yesterday. He's always on here. He gives really, really good thoughtful comments and insight and stats into the program. Pushed the stuff out yesterday. I think we're about 52. I think 52 followers from 1,000. It'd be nice to get to that 1,000 mark. So if you haven't, 50. So if you haven't hit that, if you haven't hit that follow button, hit that follow button. Again, this is kind of where we push all of our shows out if you're not getting the notifications. But at the same time, we get on there a lot. Either I got Twitter fingers or Jimmy's got Twitter fingers, and we get on there. We tweet a lot and talk a lot. But hey, if you want to find us on there, you can find us on Twitter. You can find us at TX Football Talk, on Facebook at Texas Football Talk, and on Instagram at Texas Football Talk. We appreciate you listening as always. Y'all have a wonderful weekend. If we don't see you then, hopefully some good news will come out sooner than later. And we'll be the first ones to get on here, regardless of what time it is, man. So y'all have a wonderful day. We'll see you soon, and hook 'em.
Welcome.